Have you ever had one of those days where you just feel um, entirely exhausted by your own ambitions,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
or maybe just by your anxieties, or that constant nagging need to compare yourself to the people around you?
Yeah.
You scroll through your feed and you see someone getting a promotion or buying a house or
Or just looking effortlessly happy. Right.
exactly. And this heavy, tiring weight just settles right in the center of your chest. I mean, we've all been there. It's basically the modern human condition.
It really is.
But what if the secret to ultimate happiness, like the actual key to peace, isn't achieving more, or optimizing your routine, or finally beating your rival? What if the secret is literally losing yourself?
Which is a completely radical proposition,
Mhm.
especially for you, the listener, navigating a world that constantly demands you build a personal brand.
Right, you have to find your authentic self and loudly assert your identity.
Exactly. Our entire cultural framework is built around inflating the ego and protecting it at all costs. So to suggest dismantling that structure, well, it goes against almost everything we are taught.
And that is the mission for this deep dive. We are exploring a truly fascinating philosophical text from September 15, 2006. It's authored by Deform Buddha, with the translation edited by Kinyo.
Yeah, and the core theme of this text is beautifully and rather bluntly captured right in its title. Totally lose the self, attain a state of blissful openness.
It is a bold title.
It is. And the origin of this insight sets the stage perfectly, too, because this wasn't a philosophy meticulously drafted over decades in a perfectly quiet, isolated
All
monastery.
right.
The text actually details that this profound realization was born from a spontaneous flash of insight. It was experienced by Chanyu Celestial Yuani.
And just for the listener who might be unfamiliar with that terminology, within this specific philosophical framework, a Chanyu celestial refers to a dedicated spiritual seeker.
Yeah. And this realization encapsulates what the text calls the absolute pinnacle of attainment for cultivators, which simply means individuals who are actively practicing physical, mental, or spiritual disciplines to achieve higher understanding or enlightenment.
What I love about this origin story is the setting, because this spontaneous flash of insight didn't happen in a meditation retreat. It actually happened during a visit to Niagara Falls in Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just picture that for a second. You are standing in front of millions of gallons of water roaring over a cliff. You're feeling the mist on your face, hearing that deafening sound of pure natural force.
It makes you feel incredibly small, almost insignificant.
Okay, let's unpack this,
Yeah.
because we are going to explore how this ancient-sounding, mystical realization at a waterfall maps directly onto your modern, everyday stressors.
What's fascinating here is how the text immediately aligns this realization at Niagara Falls with the heavyweights of human spiritual history.
Like who?
Well, the author asks a series of rhetorical questions to show a historical through line, like why does Buddha Shakyamuni advocate for the abandonment of the self?
Right.
Or why does Jesus Christ implore us to relinquish ourselves? Why does the great sage Laozi champion principles like indifference, being stuffy, non-action, and holding on to the one as a model for the world?
Wait, I want to pause on that phrase from Lao Tzu. Holding on to the one. That sounds a bit cryptic. Is the one referring to a deity?
Well, in the context of Laozi and Taoist philosophy, the one actually refers to the Tao, or the singular, undivided source of all things. It is the underlying unity of the universe.
Okay, so it's not a person.
No, exactly. The idea is that we suffer because we fragment ourselves away from this unity by creating a separate self.
I see. So by holding on to the one, you are letting go of your isolated ego and rejoining the universal flow.
Precisely. The text is pointing out that all these incredibly different teachings, spanning completely different eras and cultures, actually converge on one single psychological mechanism. You must remove the ego to find peace.
Wow.
Yeah, the text describes the self not just as a mild nuisance, but as a devil that actively obstructs our journey to bliss.
A devil. That's strong language.
Very strong. The formula it presents is mathematical in its simplicity, though. The stronger yourself, the further you drift from heaven.
I was trying to wrap my head around this devil of the self idea, and the best analogy I could come up with is your smartphone.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, think about the self like a background app running on your phone that you don't even realize is open. It's constantly running, constantly searching for a signal.
Which in human terms is external validation.
Exactly. It is constantly tracking your location in the social hierarchy, pinging the server every time someone looks at you funny or doesn't like your post, and it drains your battery so fast.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're walking around exhausted, wondering why you have no energy. The text is basically saying the only way to save the battery and attain that state of blissful openness is to force quit the app entirely.
That makes total sense because the underlying mechanics of that battery drain are entirely cognitive. Maintaining insanity requires massive psychological overhead,
Yeah, it's exhausting.
right? You have to remember who you are supposed to be, defend your opinions, protect your pride, and worry about how others perceive you.
It's a full-time job.
It really is. The text uses the word devil to describe this mechanism because it is insatiable. The ego can never be fully satisfied or permanently secured.
So the inability to reach ultimate bliss entirely stems from the existence of this demanding, resource-heavy construct.
Exactly. Force quitting the app is the only way to free up your cognitive processing power.
But, this all sounds great in theory, sitting in a philosophy class or staring at a waterfall.
Sure.
But how does this actually survive contact with reality? Because it is one thing to talk about universal unity, and it's another thing entirely to deal with the messy, everyday frustrations you and I face.
That is the real test.
So let's look at how the text applies this to everyday friction, starting with a big one, envy.
Oh yeah, the text tackles jealousy head on. It describes that visceral physical reaction we have when we see others who are wealthier or who have higher status.
Or more fame, better looks, more talent.
Right, all of that. We feel this inexplicable jealousy and unease.
Yes.
And the text solution is to structurally dismantle the feeling. It states that at these exact moments, you must abandon yourself and literally transform yourself into nothingness in your consciousness. By doing this, you free yourself from the suffering.
And it applies the same logic to our own frustrated ambitions, too. Like when our ideals are hard to realize or when we feel frustrated because we just can't reach our goals, the text advises stepping back.
Way back.
Yeah, in fact, it says we should retreat so far back that we cannot find ourselves. From that vantage point, the frustration disappears, and the whole situation actually becomes laughable.
It's a radical shift in perspective.
But I have to ask, is it really that easy? I mean, when someone at work gets the exact promotion you've been grinding for all year, can you really just retreat until you disappear?
It's definitely not easy, but it's a practice.
To me, it sounds like opening a digital map on your phone and zooming out. You start zoomed in on your street, your house, your little blue dot.
Right, you are the center of the universe.
Exactly. But then you pinch the screen, you zoom out to the city, the state, the continent, and suddenly your little blue dot vanishes completely into a view of the whole Earth.
That's a great visual.
It is a nice perspective shift. But your blue dot still didn't get the promotion.
Well, yeah, the blue dot didn't get the promotion, but the pain of not getting the promotion relies entirely on the existence of the blue dot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Psychologically, here's why the text argues this works. When you zoom out on that map until the dot disappears, you are actively removing the I from the equation.
The I.
Right. Jealousy and frustration require a subject and an object. I am jealous of them. I failed to get that.
I see. So if you eliminate the subject, the equation collapses.
Exactly. It's like throwing a dart at a dartboard, but the dartboard suddenly turns into thin air. The dart has nowhere to land.
That's wild.
The mechanism of transforming the self into nothingness is a shift from being a subjective participant to pure objective awareness. You are just observing a human not getting a promotion rather than experiencing my failure.
The dart just falls to the ground. That makes a lot of sense for internal things, like our own ambitions,
Yeah.
our own envies.
Sure.
You are the only one holding the dart in that scenario. But what happens when the dart is thrown by someone else?
Ah, that is the next level.
Yeah, it's one thing to manage your own internal friction, but it's entirely another when people actively hurt you. This text moves from internal psychology right into the fire of external interpersonal conflict.
It does. It addresses the pain of mockery and insults directly.
Right.
The text claims that when others misunderstand you or actively mock and insult you, abandoning the self neutralizes the attack.
Neutralizes it.
Yeah. The mechanism is the same as the dartboard turning to air. An insult is a verbal weapon designed to damage social standing or pride.
Okay.
If your consciousness holds no concept of social standing or pride, well, because there is no self to possess those things, the insult simply passes through you.
But then the text takes this to an extreme that I think will stop a lot of people in their tracks. It brings up the ultimate relationship test. Infidelity.
Yes, this is a tough one.
The text says that if a spouse becomes emotionally attached to someone else, causing you inner turmoil, abandoning the self and observing from a heavenly perspective can lead to understanding. And even finding the situation amusing or fun.
Right.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting,
Yeah.
because I have to push back on this. Finding a partner's infidelity amusing?
It sounds absurd.
It goes against every single human instinct we have. We are wired for attachment, for loyalty, for pair bonding. Suggesting that we should just laugh off betrayal feels almost inhuman.
It does feel that way.
It feels like dissociation, like a psychological defense mechanism, not enlightenment.
And I think many listeners will hit a wall with that specific example because it challenges our deepest biological and social attachments.
Absolutely.
But the text is pushing the concept of radical detachment to its absolute logical limit to prove a point. Think about the mechanics of betrayal.
Okay.
Betrayal is agonizing because it is an attack on the ego's perceived ownership and security. We say, my spouse betrayed me.
Right, the possessive part.
Yes, the text is suggesting a state of consciousness where the possessive my is entirely eliminated.
So it's essentially stress testing the philosophy. If it works for the worst case scenario, it works for everything.
Exactly. The text is arguing for profound emotional invulnerability. If you achieve this heavenly perspective, you are observing the human drama unfold as if watching a play.
Wow.
You are no longer a participant whose survival or worth is tied to the actions of another character. If the self truly does not exist, then the self cannot be betrayed.
That is intense.
And the amusement or fun the text mentions isn't cruel laughter or callousness. It is the overwhelming relief and lightness of realizing that you are untouchable.
Untouchable.
Nothing another person does can break you because there is no you constructed out of their validation to be broken.
Emotional invulnerability. That is an incredibly heavy, almost intimidating concept.
It is.
So we have dealt with people we might be angry at. Competitors, critics, even unfaithful partners. But what about the people we love?
Right, the other side of the coin.
This deep dive takes us from the pain of betrayal to something equally complex, the burden of love and duty.
The text reveals how the ego masquerades not just as pride or possessiveness, but as care. It addresses family worries specifically.
I think a lot of people will relate to this.
Oh, definitely. If you spend your days constantly worrying about your children's safety and their future, or agonizing over your parents' health, the text offers a jarring solution.
It says to pretend you are already dead and non-existent.
Yes, and it claims this brings instant relief.
Pretend you are dead. That is intense. And the text scales this up to the societal level, too.
It does.
It says if you are someone who dedicates yourself to your country, your ethnicity, your political party, or your religion, if you feel this deep burning responsibility for the rise and fall of the world, you should view yourself as someone who never existed on Earth.
Right.
If you do that, it says your actions will suddenly look absurd, akin to playing childish games.
It really pulls the rug out from under our grand narratives.
I have to challenge this again, though. Doesn't pretending you never existed feel a bit like a massive cop-out? I mean, if we all treat global issues, politics, and the welfare of our families like childish games, who is going to fix the problems?
That's the natural objection.
Who feeds the kids?
Yeah.
Who fights injustice? It sounds like a convenient excuse to just check out of life completely and avoid responsibility.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at what the text is actually dismantling. It isn't telling you to stop feeding your children or to abandon society.
It isn't.
No, it is targeting the obsessive worry and the self-importance that we attach to those actions.
Boy.
We often operate under the illusion that our anxiety is a measure of our love. We tell ourselves, I worry about my kids constantly, therefore I am a good parent.
Or, I am tearing my hair out over politics, therefore I am a good citizen.
Exactly.
The ego masquerading as a savior. We make the world's problems about our own moral standing.
Spot on. By viewing these heavy burdens through the lens of non-existence, you remove the suffocating anxiety of the ego.
How does that practically work, though?
Think about the mechanics of parenting while pretending you are already dead. If your ego is dead, you no longer project your own unfulfilled ambitions onto your children.
Wow. Yeah.
You no longer worry about how their failures reflect on you as a parent. You simply care for them out of pure necessity and love in the present moment.
So the actions remain. You still feed them, you still guide them, but the agonizing weight of doing the actions is gone.
You are actually a better, more present parent or citizen because you aren't crushed by the ego-driven illusion that you are individually holding up the sky.
You're doing the actions, but you're removing the agonizing weight. That reframes it completely. But there's one final frontier here.
The big one.
We have stripped away our ambition for wealth. We have stripped away our romantic attachments. And we have stripped away our familial duty and societal pride.
So what's left?
There was only one thing left to let go of to truly lose the self. And that is physical survival itself, the final boss.
We reach the ultimate conclusion of this philosophy, the fear of death. The text lists the specific visceral anxieties that haunt the human condition.
Things like the fear of starving, freezing, being beaten, being crushed, illness, or shame.
Yes. These are not abstract concepts. These are the primal biological fears that drive almost all human behavior and societal structures.
They really are.
The ego isn't just a social construct. It is biologically rooted in keeping the physical body alive.
And the ultimate solution the text provides for these primal fears is to mentally place yourself in a state of death beforehand.
Pre-dying, essentially.
It argues that by abandoning the self in this final, absolute way, death will become a pleasure. It says that by mentally dying before you actually die, you can calmly face any form of physical demise.
It's a profound thought exercise.
But how does someone actually do that? How do you mentally pre-die without just slipping into utter despair?
The psychological process here is the ultimate form of acceptance. It shares DNA with the Stoic practice of memento mori, reflecting on mortality, but it goes much further.
Much further.
It is about actively severing the consciousness's identification with the biological vessel.
Oh, man.
When you mentally pre-die, you accept that the worst-case scenario has already occurred. You give up the desperate, thrashing fight for self-preservation.
I see.
If you imagine you are already dead, then feelings of hunger or cold are simply physical sensations occurring in nature, rather than existential threats to you.
Because you are already gone. It's almost like giving yourself a clean slate for the rest of your life.
This raises an important question about the nature of peace, and it ties perfectly back to that opening image of Chanyuan celestial Yuanye at Niagara Falls.
Okay, let's bring it back there.
Think about the physical reality of a waterfall. It is a powerful, unstoppable, continuous flow of millions of gallons of water. If you fall in and fight the waterfall, well, you will be crushed.
Naturally.
Your panic, your thrashing, your desperate desire to survive and swim upstream, that is the self fighting the inevitable flow of nature. But what happens if you totally surrender to the flow?
You become part of the water. You go over the edge, but you aren't fighting it anymore.
The text describes selflessness as a wonderful state that is free, ethereal, serene, and joyful. By mentally accepting death, you stop thrashing against the current of existence.
You just let go.
You lose the self, and in doing so, you experience that state of blissful openness immediately, regardless of your physical circumstances. You are no longer a separate entity at the mercy of the universe. You are simply the universe experiencing itself.
So what does this all mean? We have traced this idea from a spontaneous insight at a roaring waterfall all the way down to the deepest, darkest, most primal fears of the human psyche.
Quite the journey.
The text is essentially asking you, the listener, to test drive selflessness. It even ends with a direct invitation. Give it a try.
Just try it.
Whether you're dealing with a tiny pang of jealousy over your neighbor's new car, the deep sting of an insult from a colleague, the exhausting worry for your children's future, or the ultimate existential dread of your own mortality, the prescription remains exactly the same.
Force quit the app.
Force quit the app. Zoom out on the map until your little blue dot vanishes. You don't have to move to a monastery. The laboratory for this philosophy is your daily life.
Your everyday interactions.
The next time you feel that unease, that friction of the ego, try the experiment. Step back until you cannot find yourself and observe what happens to the suffering.
It's a powerful tool.
And as we wrap up this deep dive into the source material, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder on your own. It's a bit of a paradox that builds on everything we have discussed today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We have talked about how losing the self cures individual anxiety and makes our societal striving look like a childish game.
Right.
But think about this. What kind of civilization would a society of completely selfless people actually build? If no one cared about fame, wealth, or legacy, would art, innovation, and human progress as we know it simply grind to a halt?
That is a huge question.
Or, without the friction of ego, envy, and greed, would we finally create a literal paradise on Earth because absolutely no one is trying to take the credit for it?
That's a beautiful thought.
It brings us right back to that exhaustion we talked about at the very beginning. Are exhausting ambitions the very things keeping the lights on in our modern world? Or are they the only things keeping us from heaven? Let that simmer. Until next time, keep diving deep.